New Radio Sports Network and 1041 WRLU. Welcome to another edition of the show with Green Bay Gamblers head coach Pat Mikesch. And coach, coming off another tough loss to Dubuque, 5-2 over the weekend. And I guess when you take a look at the numbers here, it seems like Dubuque really did a good job defensively on you, as you didn't average much more than probably 7 shots a period. And what did they do defensively to really try to slow down your horses?
Well, I thought in the first period it was mostly on us. We just weren't putting pucks into the right areas and not getting to that offensive zone. And so credit to them there for being in good structure. But then that second period, we had our opportunities. They were blocking some shots. They were doing some little things that help a team win that, important home game for them. And even in that third period where we got our power play looks, they came up with some big blocks. We missed the net a couple times. And so there was opportunities for us there. But I think we'll be talking all year about Dubuque and how they play defensively.
And, that was, I believe, the third time this month that you've already faced them. I guess it's nothing too unordinary, inordinary, extraordinary, I guess you could say, because sometimes you have those two home games in the course of the weekend. But I guess talk about maybe the struggles or the pluses and minuses of facing a team that often in this opening month.
Yeah, I mean, we had the big loss to them here on our opening night. Then we went down there and beat them on their opening night. And, this was kind of that third game of the series. And I didn't like our start, but I like how we recovered after that. I thought Rastislav had a great first period for us, made some big stops to keep it at a 1-goal game. And then that second period, it was kind of a back and forth, both teams, trying to find a way, and we make it 2-2. And they scored immediately after that. And that was a big momentum builder for them, for us to be 2-2 late in the second period in their building. And they got that crucial goal at the end of the second period. And then the third period was back and forth tight again. And then they got that fourth goal when we were probably pressing a little bit. And then the empty net goal was, I think, with a second left in the game. But the fourth goal was the backbreaker for us. And that was us trying to press to, tie it up at 3.
And you got a goal from John Middlestead. We talked about Jackson Hallam last week. He's getting all sorts of great and deserved publicity. Before we hopped on here, we talked about him being featured, I believe, during the game for the Vegas Golden Knights, kind of taking a look at their prospects in the system. But John Middlestead, 4 goals, that's nothing to snuff at either. How important has he been towards your offense, and to have maybe another good goal scorer that can kind of complement what Hallam's been able to do so far this season?
Well, I think we had talked a couple of weeks ago about our returning players and guys who had been through the league taking that step. And John's one of those guys who's done it. And all of his goals are coming in the hard areas. Like, he is going to that net, second chance opportunities. He's a great skater as well, like Jackson. And that's the biggest improvement now is Johnny just knows that he's here, as a returning player and needs to contribute. And he's been doing all those little things the right way.
And how important is it to kind of make that transition, or at least maybe coach that transition into players that maybe a little bit more of a role player the previous year to now in the second or third year, and you're saying, hey, you're the guy now. It's time to get in and kind of get those numbers up. How hard is that for you to kind of coach people up in that direction?
Well, it's not hard. A lot of it is the confidence coming into the player, and he knew with a Jake Schmaltz and a Jesse Tucker leaving, there was going to be opportunities for him to take that step. And so that's the important part, is the players believe they're ready to take that step. And Johnny, first thing he said when he came back to camp this summer, he's like, I had a great summer. So you knew he felt good about where he was at, and it's great to see him get rewarded early this season.
What are some of the things that you're working on practice this week? As it feels like for one of the first times you actually get to see somebody new. I know obviously you got to face Cedar Rapids earlier this season, but a lot of games against Dubuque, and you'll face Chicago this coming weekend.
Yeah, I mean, Chicago, you're kind of getting a look at them on film for the first time. I watched them when they were out in Pittsburgh, and and they're still that same puck possession team that they've been. I think they're a little bit smaller, a little bit lighter than they were a year ago. So we're going to need to defend well, though. If our habits aren't locked in, then they're going to have their opportunities. So we'll spend a little bit of time focusing on our man-on-man defense and how to keep them to the outside. But I think a big thing is we need to spend more time on our special teams to get that cleaned up and be sharp and take advantage of those opportunities when we get them.
Is Chicago still that big goal scoring team that we saw last year? If I remember right, I think if you took a look at the top 5 scorers in the USHL last year, Chicago had about the top 3 en route to them winning the championship last year. Are we expected to see some of the same things here if we head down to the Rest Center this Friday night?
Well, Fantilli is probably the best player in the league. I right now I think he is. I mean, he's dynamic. He's going to be an NHL first round pick. He's a special player, generational type player that this league seems to be producing more and more often now. And so his line of Blake and Harvey, they're dynamic, and we'll be aware when they're on the ice. But I think the last year's Chicago team had then that next layer that was going to come at you with the same type of high end skill. Where I think this group they're deep, but they're not as heavy as or hard to play against as that group we saw last year.
Now, we've seen the Gamblers have similar success in the past as well. Maybe potentially see something similar out of Chicago. How hard is it to repeat as champions in the USHL, do you think?
Oh, I mean, it's a beast of a league, and it's hard to be able to repeat that high level of player coming back, because if you win a championship, you're going to lose the majority of your players on to college, and so it hasn't been an easy task for teams here in the past. But Chicago seems to have put themselves in that conversation. They haven't lost yet this year. They are scoring at a good rate, and so it'll be a good test for us here at the Resch on Friday.
And you mentioned that sometimes when you have that kind of success, kids might get plucked for the, for the collegiate ranks, for NHL, for maybe some of the other pro ranks and stuff like that. As a coach, is there a part of you that kind of wishes that they'd kind of simmer things down? Think of a Jackson Hallam. If somebody really needs scoring wherever he ends up going to the next level, they go, you know what? We want that goal scoring, and then, kind of take them mid-season. Is that a concern that you ever have when you have, really big talent like that on your roster, or you kind of look across the other bench and be like, man, I hope his college team says that they need him here this fall still?
Yeah, every once in a while you see a situation that happens that way, and it would normally be if the university had like an injury and they lost a player for their season, and now that frees up a partial scholarship or whatever it is, because most of the teams are maxed out on their scholarship, so it's not where they have that space to be bringing in a guy at midseason. But I guess that is a worst case scenario. You're always have to be aware that it is a possibility, but it hasn't been a common theme here in our league.
I'd be greedy. I'd be like, okay, let's just calm it down a little bit. I want you for the full 60 games plus playoffs. Don't be good, but don't be that good. I feel like I'd be that kind of coach.
Yeah, no, I think if you were in my seat, you'd appreciate them for the days you have them, and let them go and run and do what they do, and then you say goodbye when it's time to say goodbye.
And obviously, you've been on the road recently. How nice will it be that you won't have to hop onto a bus and drive to scenic Iowa or some other place this weekend?
Well, it's been quiet with just that one game last weekend. We were able to come back and use Saturday as a practice day and try to get ourselves started for this week, and used yesterday as more of just a scrimmage situation and put ourselves in some game atmosphere, and then now it's just a little bit of prep work for Chicago and making sure we're feeling great going into that game Friday, knowing that Saturday is another off day.
With these kind of single game weekends that you started off with your month with, can you kind of tell within your own coaching staff or on your own team maybe a little anxiousness or antsiness going on the ice or in the locker room because they want to get to this, maybe 3 games in 5 nights or 2 games in the weekend type of schedule?
Well, it'll get busier for us. I think everybody knows it. Nobody likes coaching the 1-game weeks. It's just a long week of practice, and you think about players that didn't dress for the game last Friday night. I mean, now they're coming up into this week and not having played a game in almost 2 full weeks. So that's why we used yesterday as a little bit of a scrimmage situation, just to get a little bit of real live reps for guys and build that, comfort level going into a big one here on Friday.
Then to end things on a fun note, I know we talk about the NHL. I believe you are a Red Wings fan, and when you take a look at the NHL, which will be starting up here, well, it's already started. Do you have a pick to click this year for the NHL?
I mean, the common one is Colorado. I mean, that just seems like the easy answer right now. But until Tampa's knocked out of that place as being that top team, they're always going to be a tough out with their high end skills and everything. I know they had to replace a lot of their bottom level or their third and fourth line guys that were special for them, but you still have the cream of the crop there, and those are the guys who win you championships.
Well, with a Red Wings fan on one end of the call and a Blackhawks fan on this end of the call, we won't talk about our teams this early in the season yet.
It's a building process for them.
Both rebuilding. Well, Green Bay Gamblers hockey will be on the air on the new Radio Sports Network this Friday night with Tobin Meyer on the call. The Chicago Steel will come to town to face the Green Bay Gamblers. Puck drop at 7:00. That game once again will be featured on the new Radio Sports Network. Coach, as always, we thank you so much, and we can't wait to talk to you again here soon.
Sounds good, Tim. We'll talk next week.
And for the new Radio Sports Network, I'm Tim Coles.